Am I my brother's keeper? Yes, I am. Am I my brother's keeper? Yes, I am. Am I my brother's keeper? Yes, I am.
Nino Brown Boxing, and I'm back in the building. Shout out to the LDBC. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe. Man, I've been gone for a while. I know. It's just, man, it's a combination of just life being life and boxing not being all that fun for me right now. I mean, I've expressed my opinion on this matter on multiple occasions. I expressed my opinion on how dissatisfied I am with the fights not being made. But right now, I got something I want to talk about. And that's Jarrett Hurd. So recently I've been seeing a number of interviews regarding Jarrett Hurd. I've been seeing a number of live streams from the LDBC. Shout out to Trill Boxing Talk, 78 Sports TV, Black Fight Fan TV. And it's been funny for me because, like, the topic of Jarrett Hurd, it seems like a lot of people, not all, but a lot, have been taking issue with the way Hurd decided that he wants to move right now. Now, the thing I don't understand is all of these opportunities that Jarrett Hurd has in front of him. Jermell Charlo had all of those opportunities first. And what I mean by that is Jermell Charlo was a title holder at 154 before Jarrett Hurd. So he had the option. He had the option to unify with Arislandi Laura before Hurd did. Now, for whatever reason, the reason has nothing to do with Jarrett Hurd. Jarrett Hurd got the fight. Jarrett Hurd came through, and he delivered. Now, fast forward to present day. We have a unified Jarrett Hurd, the number one guy in the division, and we had the number two guy in the division, Jermell Charlo. Now, it's been a whole lot of talk about, Jermell Charlo, he'll do this. Jermell Charlo, he'll do that. Jarrett Hurd does this, and Jarrett Hurd does that. He doesn't do this right. He doesn't do that right. But one thing about Jarrett Hurd is he always prepares for the opponent that's in front of him. And it seems like a lot of people don't give Hurd enough credit for that. They talking about he's a big guy. Not all, but some people I've seen, they call Jarrett Hurd a weight bully. And I mean, I've discussed that topic before. I said if you're disciplined enough to make the weight continuously, you don't have to have multiple weigh-in attempts. You don't have to strip down naked. You make the weight and you perform. You're not a weight bully. You're just a disciplined fighter that just happens to have a bigger frame. It is what it is. But now we have Jarrett Hurd fighting on the Deontay Wilder Tyson Fury undercard. He's fighting Wilborn. I believe it's a good comeback fight for him. And then there's been talks of Jarrett Hurd possibly fighting J-Rock next. Now I've heard Jarrett Hurd on YouTube. It was a YouTube video. I think it was Showtime. Jarrett Hurd, he was home. He was in my area, his area, the DMV area. Showtime cameras were there. And one of the things he said that he wanted to fight December 1st. He's going to fight Wilborn. That's his next fight. And then he said he wanted a hometown fight. Now, I've been hearing that the next guy that they have lined up for Jarrett Hurd will be J-Rock. And I feel like that's a good fight. See, the thing about this is people say, oh, well, Jarrett Hurd, he's taking this tough fight. We want Jermell Charlo next. Jarrett Hurd has been very consistent with what he's saying. I mean, he fought Tony Harrison, a fight that some people thought he would lose. That was back when it was a one-loss Tony Harrison. He got in the ring with Austin Trout, defended his belt, was the first person ever to stop Austin Trout. And then he got in the ring with Arislandi Laura, knocked Laura down, unified the division. Now, if you think about it, Jermell Charlo had an opportunity to fight in an Austin Trout that was never stopped. He didn't. Jarrett Hurd he took that fight first. Jermell Charlo had an opportunity to unify. He didn't. Jarrett Hurd took that route first. Now, we have Jermell Charlo. He had the opportunity, once again, to call out J-Rock. He can say, well, while I'm waiting for Hurd, I want all the smoke with J-Rock. I'm at his neck. I want to finish him off. My brother started it. I want to finish it. He seemed like he's trying to come back strong, trying to make a name for himself in the division. Nah, that didn't happen. So, it looks like to me that Jarrett Hurd is stacking his resume with top-level opposition. And it's like Jarrett Hurd is looking at it for the long term. I mean, he's even said that his goal is to move up to middleweight. And my thing is, what better way to move up to the middleweight division than gaining as much experience as possible with some of the best guys 154 pounds has to offer? See, Jarrett Hurd is improving. And this top-level opposition, these fighters that are completely different styles, different backgrounds, Jarrett Hurd is taking all of that information in. All of that information is being added to his game. Jarrett Hurd is very self-aware. He lets people know. He's like, yeah, I was like Frankenstein, Halloween Hurd, and all of that stuff. He jokes about it, and he understands that he was just a pressure fighter, and now he said he needs to sharpen on his defense. See, my thing is, it seems like a lot of people have a problem with a fighter like Hurd being realistic. He was injured. People try to compare him to Thurman. You can't compare Hurd to Thurman. For the simple fact, it was a legitimate injury. He stayed consistent. He had his surgery. Like, Hurd even had videos with him and his younger brother that's also a fighter going into surgery at the same time on the same damn day. He rehabbed. He got back in the gym, and now he's fighting December 1st. Keith Thurman hasn't even had a fight announced. Hurd fights this weekend. Mind you, he just unified earlier this year, and now he's fighting again this weekend coming off an injury. So that information, that piece right there I just said should kill any type of Jarrett Hurd and Keith Thurman comparisons. Another thing is, I'm trying to figure out, I've been looking outside of the injury and outside of like some promotional related things. The Jarrett Hurd Jermell Charlo situation is very similar to the Errol Spence Terrence Crawford situation. See, I see a lot of people that would give Spence a pass, but they're not doing the same thing for Hurd. Now let's look at it like this. Jarrett Hurd is, without a shadow of a doubt, the number one super welterweight in his division. He's unified. He has the best resume, and he's undefeated. Now, when we look at the welterweight division, by popular opinion, Errol Spence Jr. is the number one welterweight. Now, me personally, I feel like Errol Spence is the number one welterweight. I believe he can beat anyone in the division. But the only thing that's different from him and Hurd is Hurd has proven it. But Spence, he has partially proven it, and I believe it. Now, I compare the Spence and Crawford situation to the Hurd and Charlo situation, mainly because both of the guys that are at the top of the division, so that being Spence and Hurd, have came out and openly stated, these are the guys I want to fight. I'm the top guy in my division, and I want to fight it in this order. But when Spence says the easier fight to make, it doesn't matter if it's an easier fight to make or if it's an easier fight to win. He prefers fighting Sean Porter before he fights Terrence Crawford. Now the thing about this is what? We're talking about Spence's first ever unification fight. His first one. Hurd already unified. So if Spence already knows that Sean Porter is not willing to fight him right now for whatever reason. I made plenty of videos about Sean Porter ducking and dodging Spence. To me, I'm looking at it like, well, why not just say simple, like, fuck Sean Porter, go after Terrence Crawford, because based off what Terrence Crawford says, he want that rep. Hold on for a second. Let me badge in. Okay, so based off what Spencer's saying, based off what Crawford is saying, Crawford, he wants that rep, and I'm okay with that. So to me, it's like the Errol Spencer has never unified. See, both of these guys started off their first championship belt, both being the IBF. Thurman isn't available for Spence. Thurman isn't available, and Sean Porter's ducking. Okay, well, it only makes sense to fight Terrence Crawford. It only makes sense to push this agenda with Terrence Crawford. If the goal is to get all the belts and unify, that to me, that's what makes sense. And my thing is, if we're going to be understanding for the path that Errol Spence wants to take, and he hasn't unified in his division yet, let's extend that same courtesy to Jarrett Hurd. Remember, both of those guys started off with the IBF belt. That's the only belt Spence has. He hasn't unified yet. The first opportunity that Jarrett Hurd had to unify, he did it. He took it. He made it known that's what he wanted to do. We can talk all day of the possibilities of who you think will win against Jermell Charlo and Arislandi Lara. That's not what happened. That fight wasn't made. And now we're in this situation talking about a lot of the what ifs. A lot of the, basically giving Charlo credit. Well, not necessarily giving him credit, but speaking on it as if it was a guarantee that Charlo was going to beat Lara. So, I guess my overall point with all of this is, like, I like Charlo. I like Hurd. I like Spence. I like Crawford. I like all of those guys. They're some of my favorite fighters. But people are complaining about the path that Jarrett Hurd is deciding to take when he has the best resume in his division when it comes to title holders. Like, that's an undisputed fact. Every other guy, I can't even say every other guy. Jermell Charlo, because I can't include Jaime Munguia, because Jaime Munguia did not have a belt before Hurd. Jermell Charlo is under the same banner as Jarrett Hurd, and he had a belt before Jarrett Hurd. And he was more well-known at that time than Jarrett Hurd. Jermell Charlo had every opportunity that Jarrett Hurd had. But the only difference is Jarrett Hurd took full advantage of his opportunity. He didn't stall. He jumped at it, took on those challenges head on, and he's victorious. If Jermell Charlo would have tried, I believe it's a high possibility he can be in the same exact position as Jarrett Hurd right now. But he decided to take other fights. Yes, I know he was ordered to have a mandatory with Erickson Lubin and all of this and all of that. But, we hear to talk all the time that unifications trump mandatories. And if that's the case, a unification with Arislandi Lara should have trumped that mandatory. But, you had Big Brother Jamal standing in the way saying that he didn't necessarily want that fight to happen. So it's a lot of what ifs for Jermell Charlo. A lot of people like to bring up the fact that Jarrett Hurd did struggle before he stopped Tony Harrison. He was struggling and possibly losing before he stopped Austin Trout. He was down on the cards until he knocked down Arislandi Lara. And like those are all facts. But I could say the same thing for Jermell Charlo when he was struggling down on the cards against John Jackson. And to me, John Jackson does not beat Tony Harrison. He does not beat Austin Trout, or he doesn't beat Erislandy Lara. So all I want is for people to give her, not even, you don't have to give her anything. Just remember the history. Hurd said he wanted 2 right-handed fighters. Whatever reason for him wanting that, that's his call. Like the dude just fought Erislandy Lara, Austin Trout, Tony Harrison. All 3 are stylistic nightmares for this guy. He fought them all unified. So now he's coming off an injury. He wants to fight Wilborn, J-Rock, and then Charlo. I mean, damn. I can't name one fighter that is facing more difficult fights, considering considering the stylistic matchup. For whatever the reason, if it's because guys are ducking them, because it's a promotional situation, no other guy that I know right now that I can think of right off the top of my head is facing that tough of a competition. Errol Spence isn't. Jermell Charlo isn't. Jermall Charlo hasn't had the opportunity. I mean, not Sean Porter, not Danny Garcia, not Keith Thurman. Shit, not Floyd Mayweather, not Manny Pacquiao. Who? I can't think of anyone. So, people just need to give Jarrett Hurd a lot more credit. And one of my last points, and I feel like I may make a separate video to this later, but one of my last points is this. Me personally, when it comes to, from a boxing perspective, I do not like the Errol Spence versus Mikey Garcia fight. From an entertainment perspective, yes, I do. But boxing-wise, I don't like it. It does nothing for the division. Now, a lot of people are hopping on this fight, and they say, it's a good fight, this and that. Mikey's great. Yes, Mikey's great. Mikey's a smaller man fighting the bigger man. To me, Mikey Garcia facing Errol Spence is the equivalent of Terrence Crawford facing Jarrett Hurd. And it's actually not even the equivalent because Terrence Crawford is an undisputed champion moving up 2 weight classes versus Mikey was just a unified champ. I feel like if you have Jermell Charlo in his division, and to me, so in this situation, Jermell Charlo and Terrence Crawford would be the same. They're both killers in the division. They both, I would say they both have 1 belt, but Spence only has 1 belt. But y'all get the comparison. Hurd will be bringing a smaller guy up that had success at a smaller weight classes up 2 divisions to fight him over Terrence Crawford because Hurd will be fighting Terrence Crawford in this hypothetical situation over Jermell Charlo because it's a bigger payday. To me, that for pay-per-view, that is absolutely ridiculous. When you have someone that's a top-tier opponent in your division wanting to fight you. To me, that's just how I look at it. I'll go in depth on my thought process, and I can explain it better in another video. This video is already long enough. But the Errol Spence, Terrence Crawford, and Jarrett Hurd and Jermell Charlo situations, they're not that different. But if you bring up the differences, it's more difficult. It's the higher level of difficulty, and it's more accomplishments on the Jarrett Hurd side. Once again, that being he's unified, he's faced tougher competition in consecutive fights, and he's looking to face tougher competition ahead of him. So tougher competition within his division. Now, I understand once again that Errol Spence has no control over the Sean Porters, the Danny Garcias, and the Keith Thurman. I get that. But Jermell Charlo did have control to take the same level of opposition, to take the same exact opposition is Jarrett Hurd. Once again, he could have fought J-Rock. He could have fought Laura. And he could have fought Austin Trout before Hurd fought Austin Trout. None of those things happened. So if Jarrett Hurd, coming off of an injury, coming off of unification, wants to come have a tune-up and then fight J-Rock, a top guy in the division, even though he doesn't have a belt, a top guy in the division, and then fight Charlo, now that's entertainment. It's a lot better from a guy coming up 2 weight classes, this chubby at 140, trying to go to 147 and fight not a killer, the killer. But that's just my take on the guys. I know I've been gone for a while. I'm going to try to drop more videos. I have a lot of stuff on my mind when it comes to this boxing talk. Tyson Fury, Deontay Wilder is this weekend. This is Nino Brown Boxing. Shout out to LDBC, and I'm out.